The start of the Philadelphia Phillies offseason is officially here, and we're beginning to get an idea of what the expectations are. Rob Thomson and Dave Dombrowski faced the music and spoke to the media for the first time today, and may have revealed a bit of their future plans revolving the outfield. I dropped a video already right here on Phillies Digest, kind of giving my main takeaways, where I was a little frustrated at this overall run-it-back attitude that the team seems to be embracing here, but had to bring in my guy Luke Arcaini to really dig in here. So, Luke, before we dive fully into the outfield conversation, what were your initial impressions of that press conference today?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love it. Listen, I don't think anybody's gonna love a press conference when the team gets bounced in the first round,
Sure.
like they did. I don't know of many good press conferences after you lose in the first round of the playoffs. But I don't know. It seemed a little run it back ish
Yeah.
to me, which is something I really hope they don't do. And I'm not saying like we have to go blow up the team because that's not really what they have to do. They have a good core, they have a good starting rotation, they have a good coach, but it's just like I don't know. I think they came off today a little sort of reserved.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they haven't been a club in the past that has really shown their cards. I don't think they're going to go out today and tell you we're going to trade this guy and let this guy walk and sign Juan Soto and that type of stuff.
Sure.
So I don't buy too much into press conferences. I really don't buy much into the end of the season ones. But as far as what they put out to the public, no, I didn't really love it at all.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt too. Now, to dig into the specific issue that we want to get into in this video, it's about the outfield. Now, the outfield's kind of been a contentious area of this team really the whole season, that Johan Rojas holding things down primarily as the center fielder. Brandon Marsh obviously in the mix, mostly playing left there. Cassie doing his thing in right field. There was the midseason trade for Austin Hayes, who really did not pan out here. We got some interesting quotes about each of these guys. And to start out with, Dave Dombrowski announced that they have an offseason plan for Johan Rojas down in Clearwater to work on his hitting. He declined to name Rojas their center fielder in 2025. To give a little more detail on that, continues on this courtesy of Jeff Kerr of CBS. He says Johan Rojas will spend the offseason in Clearwater as the Phillies complex. This is what Rob Thomson wants to see. Quote, his chase rate went down. His use of the field got better. The plan really is to improve on all of that. I also want him to cut down on his swing, make more contact, line drives. The home runs will come in time with age and experience. Continue to improve on his bunting, though it got a lot better. Cutting down his swing, being able to see the baseball, and use the entire field is number one for me. So, Luke, to throw it to you, the biggest thing for me is him declining to name him the starting center fielder for next year. How much do you read into that, and what's kind of your outlook for Rojas based on those comments?
Yeah, as far as like declining to name him, I don't buy a ton into that. Like I don't think he's going to come out and say that he will, absolutely be the center fielder
Sure.
because that's really not the case. It's not 100% locked in that he will be, and that's not because of his production. That's part of that, but it's more that this team is looking to upgrade the roster.
Right.
What I didn't necessarily see is full confidence. It seemed like they're definitely a little, I wouldn't say worried, but I would say just a little concerned, maybe just on the hitting. And I think we know that that's really the big thing with Rojas. The bat necessarily isn't there. Mm-hmm. They said they have this plan. It seems like he's going to spend most of his offseason down in Florida. But I would not say it's a lock at all for him to be back. I think he's a guy that you can look to potentially be a trade piece if that was their goal. I mean, he's only, like 24 years old? He's still very young. So I don't necessarily think it's a lock at all. I think Rojas is a great defender. I think he honestly took a bit of a step back in the defensive metric from his first year. I don't necessarily think he had a bad year. I think his first year with the team was just like incredible, that I think it was really hard for him to top that. But definitely a little like light went off, that it seemed like they didn't necessarily have maybe as much confidence as they had, say, this time last year.
Yeah, I think that's fair to assess there. Now, I'm still a Johan Rojas believer. I
Yeah.
understand that he's probably not the right call in every single matchup or every single lineup, and I think that should be addressed. But I don't think he's a guy that they should be giving up on just yet. And frankly, like while small, I still saw signs of progress. Like there were moments this year he put together some competitive at bats throughout that playoffs in general, and I do think like there's still something here worth working with because the defense is that special. So we'll see how things play out. The other guy I wanted to bring up is Austin Hayes. Now, obviously not a guy that you're hanging your hat on as this key midseason addition in the way that it was hoped. To talk about what was said about him today, we do have this quote from Michael Barkan, who tweeted out that Dombrowski said, "Unfortunately, Austin Hayes got hurt immediately. We never really saw a good version of Austin Hayes, so if you judge it on that, it was not very good. Did not work out well for us, but we like Carlos Estevez. I liked even how he threw in the postseason until Lindor obviously hit that home run." Now, for the Austin Hayes conversation, it is a little unfair to judge him because he just dealt with a ton of things since he got here, but I still think it was too small of a swing at the time. And I honestly don't fully see the vision that the Phillies seem to. Is Austin Hayes going to be the everyday left fielder next year, Luke? What do you think?
No, that just can't be the case.
Can't be or
If
won't be?
that's won't be and
Okay.
can't be.
Okay.
I don't see them running him out on opening day as being this big starting left fielder.
That makes one of
Listen,
us.
I think Austin Hayes is a better baseball player than he showed in the 2.5 months that he played for the Phillies. He's not that bad of a player. He really did get messed up with the whole kidney thing, and it's just a weird injury sickness that just like you don't really know. Like you don't see that in sports. You don't see those sort of like things. So it was unfortunate because at the time I liked the move. I didn't like that it was the only bat.
Yeah.
But I liked the necessarily like platoon move for Marsh. I thought it was a good move at the time. It didn't obviously work out, but I wouldn't think he's necessarily going anywhere. I mean,
He's
he
under
maybe could
contract.
be a yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, he maybe could be a guy that gets traded. But I could see him coming back as like bench sort of thing, but I mean, I would be shocked if he was their everyday left fielder next year.
Okay. I kind of have a feeling that might end up being the case. I hope that I'm
I
wrong on
sure
that.
hope not.
Yeah, I sure hope not as well. He was a former All-Star. He is a guy who's certainly played far better baseball than we've seen in a Phillies uniform. But I also think there's something to there's a reason why he was not able to crack the starting lineup on that Orioles team who, obviously while they were a good team and not like some team like just dragging along, they weren't quite the legitimate World Series threats that this Phillies team expected to be. And I think looking at him as the answer to that to me was a little bit of a, I guess, miscalculation there. Now, another question that I have for you, Luke, we did get this quote that I did want to pull up from Dombrowski here, who said, quote, "I don't think we need to add any more star players. We have as many star players as any team in baseball." He may be saying that, but I still have a feeling that this team is Juan Soto bound, that I think they're going to give their best attempt to bring him in. Another reason that I want to tie that in is with Kevin Long here. Now, we spoke a little bit about the backstory there. Obviously, both guys spending time with the Nationals at the start of their careers. There is a relationship with Bryce Harper, with Trey Turner, and Rob Thomson spoke glowingly of Kevin Long here. What's your read on it? Do you think this is a little gamesmanship and that the Soto that we are in play for Juan Soto right now?
I do.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and say that we're the top team. I'm not going
Yeah.
to sit here that say we're the favorite to sign him, but it's pretty telling how much of a history those guys have together. I think if Juan Soto was a Philly and he became a Philly, I think Kevin Long would be a big reason why. Juan Soto found all of his success with Kevin Long. He was one of the main reasons why Juan Soto is Juan Soto. He was an unbelievable hitting coach back with the Nationals. I still think he's a good hitting coach. I know we've talked about this. I don't think hitting coaches matter as much as people think they do.
Yeah.
Like he can go out and tell the guys not to chase as much and give them things to do to help, but like if you don't do it, it's not on the coach, it's on the player.
Yeah.
And I think that's the situation with a lot of things. I just think I don't think necessarily like assistant coaches in baseball matter a ton. I think guys like pitching coaches matter a lot more than hitting coaches. But as far as the Soto thing, I think they're in. And if they want to bring him here, I don't think firing Long would be a good first step. I just think that would honestly, I think that would half your chances to get Soto. From whatever you think the percentage is right now, whether you think it's 10, 20, 40, 30, I think if you fired Kevin Long, I think that would basically get cut in half.
Wow. Okay. All right. So before we sign off here, if I pinned you down right now and said, name me the starting outfield for this Phillies on opening day next year, Luke Arcaini, what you got for me?
Oh man. I think Marsh and Castellanos will both be out there. I think they like Marsh. I do think there's reasons to like Marsh. I don't necessarily think Marsh is a 162 guy.
Better not be.
Oh man, I want Soto so bad. I can't necessarily sit here and say that it will be him. I think they'll be in on Bellinger. I think they'll be in on a guy maybe like Tyler O'Neill. That's a guy that I think would maybe have a little more steam there. But I don't know, man. I'm going to say left fielder and then Marsh, Castellanos. I mean, I think we all know if it was ideal for me, it would be a mix of Castellanos, Marsh, and Juan Soto.
Okay. I love where your head's at. You will not like my answer to that because my honest prediction right now is Austin Hayes in left, Johan Rojas in center, and Nick Castellanos in right field. I don't want to see it, but I kind of have more of a feeling that Marsh might be a guy that's dealt. I think that's way more on the table than it's being talked about.
Run it back.
Yeah, run it back. But ultimately, a lot more offseason to go down, a lot more that this team has to get active on. I don't want to hear all this run it back. There has to be some sort of change. So me and Luke are going to be on top of it right here on Phillies Digest. Want as many of you as possible along for the ride as well. So make sure you smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a like on this video, any comments below. Me and Luke will be talking with you next time. Peace.